Hi guys, welcome to Future Recapped. Today, I am going to explain a science fiction movie called Lifelike. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. At the beginning of the movie, a couple is shown bringing an old couch into their apartment. The girl's name is Sophie. Sophie does all the work, and she is about to renovate this couch. Both seem very happy with their married life. Their financial condition is average, but Sophie's father-in-law is so rich, as he is a successful businessman. He is an owner of a big company, but due to some reason James, who is Sophie's husband, does not live with his father. Instead, James is spending a happy life with Sophie. One day, James gets told that his father has died, and that he handed all of his property to him. He also gets to know that he will run his father's company from now on. Therefore, they have to leave their previous lifestyle and step into their new one. Before, they were living in a small apartment, but now they have a beautiful huge house. On the other hand, Sophie does not seem to be happy with this major change in her life, as everything changed so suddenly. But, with the passage of time, they accept the reality that they have to spend their lives like this from now on. Sophie then fires 2 servants from the house, as she was used to doing all of the work by herself before. Seeing this, James tells her that she shouldn't have done this, as this is a big house, so she won't be able to work alone like before. Sophie does not agree with James, and replies that she is not used to this, and that they should do their work on their own. On the other hand, James is also affected by this new lifestyle, as he has to manage the whole company, because all the responsibilities are on his shoulders now. Sophie also finds trouble managing all the work. After some days, James tells his problem to someone in his company. He says that he has a solution to this problem, and that there is a scientist who makes human-like robots. No one could guess that these are either robots or humans. They do all the work, just like humans would do them. Now, because Sophie's husband needed a person who does all the work, he brings Sophie to the company. James then asks Sophie to choose any robot among all the robots they're facing. Seeing all this, Sophie gets astonished, as they are really looking like humans. They then decide to keep a robot with them, and they name it Henry. The scientist ensures Sophie and James that these robots won't harm them. He says that they are too good and useful, and to prove this, he asks Henry to lick James's shoes. By ordering like this, the scientist means that the robot will carry every order coming from humans, whether it's a good or a bad one. After that, they both bring Henry home. At home, Henry shows good performance in his work, and he performs all the work alone. Now, the robot has become very helpful for them. When James talks to Henry, he replies very nicely, due to which he starts liking him a lot. He thinks that Henry is perfect, and not less than a human to them. He also starts sharing everything with Henry. At first, Henry seemed weird to Sophie, but now she started liking him as well. She used to spend her time with Henry, and read favorite books with him. Henry also becomes very frank with them. In fact, Henry was designed to be happy, as long as his owner is happy, and to carry out all his owner's orders. As previously, Sophie and James were disturbed in their lives, but now, with the arrival of Henry, they feel very comfortable. After some days, Sophie asks Henry about emotions, love, and human feelings, to which he explains nicely what love, emotions, and human feelings are, and the difference between them. Seeing this, Sophie's husband forbids Henry to indulge in such talks. Now, after stepping into a new life, James becomes so busy that he couldn't give Sophie much time. On the other hand, James notices that Sophie has become attached to Henry, and is very happy with him. He then starts to feel jealous, despite knowing that Henry isn't a human, but a robot. Whereas Sophie considers Henry a human, as he has all the feelings in him like humans. She gets really impressed by Henry because of this, but Sophie's husband doesn't like this, and he tries to explain to her that he isn't a human, but a robot. He says to her that she should not let him feel like a human, because he will behave exactly as they treat him, and that if they consider Henry a human, he will start thinking of himself as the same. But Sophie doesn't agree with James, as she thinks that Henry is perfect like humans, and he performs all tasks perfectly without any mistakes. After that, one night Sophie hears some noise. She then goes to check Henry in his place but does not find him there. She sees that the door is open, and Henry is laying in the garden. Now, when she goes near him, she realizes that he is dreaming. Seeing this, she gets shocked as this thing is new and weird in the robots. James then wakes him up, and they take him inside. The next day, they tell the scientist about this problem, that Henry went to the garden at midnight. After hearing this, the scientist comes to their home and checks Henry. He tells them that the robot hasn't any fault, and that this is a small error that is normal and won't happen again. Sophie then tells the scientist that she noticed him dreaming, on which he says that Henry is living with you for many days, therefore he might have thought of you and developed some feelings in him. He then tells her that Henry feels like a human, so he started considering himself as a human. Hearing this, James becomes angry with Sophie that everything happened because of her. He blames her for treating him like a human, and that this error appeared because of her. James then says that she should consider him just like a robotic machine, as he doesn't have feelings, and that he will do what they ask him to do. But Sophie does not think like this about Henry and seems like she will never. James then asks Henry to stay away from his wife and asks her not to spend time with her. Hearing this, Henry asks Sophie's husband, has he done any mistake? James then tells him not to argue with him, and just follow his command. The next day, Henry tells everything to Sophie. She becomes angry and leaves the house. Intelligent Henry now explains to James that the issues between James and his wife aren't because of him. He says that all this happened after entering into a new life, as they didn't stay close to each other and they couldn't give time to each other. Therefore, Sophie became attracted to Henry. She started liking him, despite knowing that he isn't a human, and kept thinking of her. Now, when Sophie and Henry spent time together, Henry developed some human feelings and confessed to her that he loves her. Hearing this, Sophie gets nervous and scared because he has started behaving exactly like humans. She gets very much afraid that she asks Henry to go back to the place where he came from. Sophie then tells her husband that Henry confessed that he loves her. Hearing this, Sophie's husband feels aggressive. He wakes up Henry and slaps him. He then turns off Henry. After that, he calls the scientist to take this robot back, as they don't need it now. James then tells him that the robot has destroyed their lives. On the other hand, Henry gets completely changed. He accepts that he caused trouble between them, and requests Sophie not to send him away, as he now likes to stay here. He then apologizes to them, and assures them that he will not disappoint them again. Then, both husband and wife confess that they got attracted to Henry. They regret it, and decide to get rid of Henry, and that they will spend a good and simple life together after him. After that, the scientist comes to bring Henry, but he is not following the command like before. He says bad words to the scientist, and at that time, a huge secret is revealed here. As it is shown from the beginning, Henry never looked like a robot but looked like a human, because in fact, he wasn't a robot but a human. It is now revealed that the scientist is responsible for all this, as he calls himself a robot maker. This thing started by his father as he performed multiple experiments to make humans perfect. He wanted to design Henry perfectly, so that he didn't make any mistakes, and obeyed all the commands. This experiment wasn't done on robots, but it was being done on live human beings. They taught them many good things. The scientist kept trying to make humans perfect, as he did with Henry. He started brainwashing Henry when he was a kid. Since childhood, Henry was taught that he is a robot, not a human, but when he started living with Sophie and her husband, his humanistic emotions popped up, just like his dreaming and love for Sophie arose later. Now, when police find out, they take all the members of the company, including the people who were considered robots. When that scientist sees his experiment getting destroyed, he becomes mad and crazy. He starts killing the police officers that are coming there to take him. He also tries to kill Sophie and her husband, but Henry protects them. He then kills the scientist. Now, Henry becomes so sad that he attempts suicide, and leaves Sophie and her husband for good. Then, the scene moves to a few years later. Sophie and James have a baby now. They name that baby after Henry, as they never forgot him, and keep the memories of Henry alive with them. And their movie ends, but we have a lot more waiting. You can just click on one of the movies on your screen and continue the show. Or, subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help out the channel. Thanks for watching.